All right, hey guys, welcome to the video. If you're new here, my name is Curtis, and today we're going to be talking about fragrances that work really well here in Japan. So just very quickly, I wanted to talk to you about Japanese fragrances versus Western fragrances, or not necessarily Japanese made fragrances, but fragrances that the Japanese tend to gravitate towards, and the fragrances that Westerners tend to gravitate towards. So that way, if you are planning to visit Japan, you'll kind of know what fragrances to avoid while you're here. And if you're not familiar with Japanese culture, fragrances aren't such a big thing here, and especially like bold, deep, nuclear beast mode fragrances, those types of fragrances don't really have a place in Japanese culture. Now, that's not to say you can't wear those here, but if you don't understand the culture and you're not, if you don't have the experience, I've been living here for 13 years. So I know now how to kind of navigate through Japanese culture and how to pull off, I can wear fragrances like Oud Maracuja here, but I know when and where and what's appropriate and how to wear those fragrances here, versus, when I first got here and, I was wearing beast mode fragrances and people ran, right? And it was such an embarrassing experience for me. So I learned very quickly about how Japanese culture works in regards to fragrances. And so now I know how to kind of navigate through that a bit better now. And so I wanted to share that with you today. But the Japanese tend to gravitate more towards light, subtle, airy fragrances that might be a bit minimalistic in nature, versus Western fragrances tend to focus more on like bold, deep, rich, complex fragrances. All right, so I just wanted to tell you guys a little bit about some fragrance notes that work really well here in Japan. So typically floral and green notes that push more towards being light and airy work really well here, along with citrusy or tea notes that really reflect the aesthetic nature here in Japan. Those work really well. Or like clean, musky, linen type fragrances work really well also. So I've gone through my collection and I've chosen 5 fragrances that fit the bill perfectly. So if you're curious to hear my thoughts and opinions on these fragrances, then let's go. All right, first up from the house of Nishane, we have Wulong Cha. So this one right here is an extremely popular fragrance here in Japan. So, I've talked to you guys many times about this in terms of where I do my fragrance shopping. So I do fragrance shop a lot at the Nose Shop here in Japan, and this is always their #1 seller. And what's interesting is that for all of their Nishanes that they have, they only carry up to the 50 ml. However, with Wulong Cha, they just recently started carrying the 100 ml because of its popularity. So this is a fragrance that, is in the rotation for a lot of people here in Japan because it's just very light, airy. It has a very nice citrus presence, and it has that reference to tea. You are getting kind of like a bitter greenness with this fragrance, but it works really well. And you can wear this fragrance year round like many people do, but this one for me personally works a treat in the spring and summer. And you can see the dent I've put in this bottle. I hit this fragrance hard, and typically when I wear this one, I do about 5 or 6 sprays. Sometimes I might do even more if I'm going to be outside. But this one, like I said before, this fragrance is just it's pretty light, airy, but it does have quite a nice presence to it. But overall, it's just extremely refreshing. And so that's why it's a go-to for me in the spring and summer, especially this summer though, because it is so humid in Japan. Whenever I spray this one on, it just helps me to feel refreshed. But this is a good one, and it works extremely well here in Japan. So if you can, get yourself a sample of Wulong Cha by Nishane. Next up from the house of Bastille, we have Paradis Nuit. So yeah, this is just a 15 ml bottle. So this brand has 15 ml, 50 ml, and 100 ml bottles. I just went with the 50 ml here, but I'm definitely gonna upgrade to the 50 ml. I love this fragrance, and this is a fragrance that works perfectly here in Japan. This is kind of has, and also contains like an interesting note of French soap. So this is just a very high quality, luxurious, opulent smelling soapy fragrance with a bit of depth and character. So when you spray this one on, you're basically just smelling soapy and creamy. But as this fragrance develops, you're getting a bit more depth and complexity here because, I don't know, the soap is almost becoming slightly dirty in a way while remaining soapy. I don't know, I know that's a kind of a weird explanation, but you're getting some kind of woody notes that start to push forward. You also get a bit of hay in here. But yeah, it's just bringing just an interesting and unique kind of take to like a soapy style of fragrance. You know, this fragrance is very sensual and intimate, and in a way it almost kind of functions as like a clean skin scent. You will get a bit of projection here, but I would say the projection and sillage are moderate. So this isn't some kind of like beast mode fragrance, but you will smell clean. The longevity is really, really good. So, I mean, the longevity of this fragrance, it stays 8 to 9 hours on my skin. If you spray it on clothes, it'll stay even longer. But yeah, this is a great one. And what I really like about this brand Bastille is that they create fragrances that are 95% all natural. And so they list, if you go to their website, they list every single ingredient in their fragrance. And even the synthetic ingredients that they use, they list all of them on their fragrance. You know, they're trying to be more environmentally friendly as well. These fragrances here are vegan friendly. So that's one thing that I really like about this brand. You know, they're really considering the environment when they're creating their fragrances, and they're doing quality fragrances. I'm actually really becoming a big fan of this brand. And like I said, this one is going to be an upgrade for me. I'm going to upgrade to the 50 mil after I burn through this 15 mil. Because yeah, number one, it just smells good, and I like the direction that this brand is going in. But yeah, this is a great one and definitely one to check out. So if you can, get yourself a sample of Parody Nei by Bastille. Next up, from the house of Jeroboam, we have Unue. Man, so this one is a fruity, floral, musky fragrance. This fragrance for me is just very clean and pure. And I think that's, you know, hence why the bottle looks white, because they were going for a very clean and pure aesthetic. And I think they matched it perfectly here. But this fragrance for me almost functions as like a second skin. It just blends with my skin chemistry extremely well. However, the wearing experience is rather intense, but it's not overbearing in the sense of like, this fragrance is quite light and airy, but it does push out quite heavily. So I guess that's something to kind of, you know, take into consideration. This is in 30 ml extrait de parfum concentration. So typically when I wear this fragrance, I do about 2 or 3 sprays. That's really all you need. And it will last on you the entire day, and it will project off of you the entire day. I wouldn't say it's a room filler or anything by any means, but the performance is quite good. But again, kind of like I said, this just blends so well with my skin chemistry, so it comes off quite natural, and that's why I feel like it wears and it works so well here in Japan. People tend to really like this one. I have gotten quite a few compliments by wearing this one here, so it's a great one from the brand and definitely one to check out. So if you can, get yourself a sample of Unue by Jeroboam. Next up, from the house of Labo, we have Another 13. So this is a pretty recent pickup for me, but I have sampled this fragrance many times in the past. And so yeah, I really enjoy just the clean kind of purity that this fragrance has. I wouldn't even say it's fresh to an extent. It just smells clean. This is kind of more like pushes along the lines of like a Molecule 01, if you've ever used that fragrance before. This is a fragrance that just kind of works with your own skin chemistry, so it might smell differently on each person, but off my skin, it just smells clean, almost like a laundry kind of clean, but not laundry. I don't know, it's hard to really explain. This is a molecule style fragrance, but what I like about this fragrance is this is a fragrance that's not like shoved in your face. When I wear this one, it's like I can smell it at times, and then it goes away. And then like 4 or 5 hours later, I'm smelling it again. But it depends on the person too, like if they're going to be able to smell this or not. So some people can really smell this fragrance and pick up on it. Some people can't. So I guess that's kind of the, the trade-off. But that's something that I really, really enjoy about this fragrance. And this one was perfumed by one of my favorite perfumers, Natalie Lorsan. Yeah, she's just done masterful work here. But yeah, this is a great one. And as you can see, this is a recent pickup. So you can see there it says Curtis and the date that I picked it up. So yeah, but like I said, I have sampled this one before, so I do understand the wearing experience of this one. But again, this is a fragrance that works perfectly here in Japan. And the people who can pick this fragrance up, they tend to really, really enjoy this one. They will compliment you. It just smells really, really good and clean. So if you can, get yourself a sample of Another 13 by Labo. And finally, from the house of Amouage, we have Lyric Man. Yeah, so you might be shocked to see a fragrance from Amouage on this list, because Amouage is known for creating fragrances that have quite a push and that are quite deep, rich, Middle Eastern smelling. But this fragrance is very light, airy, very rosy, soapy, almost kind of bubble bathy in a way, but in the best way possible. This is such a gorgeous fragrance, and it works so well here in Japan. Every time I wear this fragrance, someone says something like, wow, you smell amazing. Really, it's a compliment getter for me here in Japan. People love this one. Like I said, it's just it has a kind of soapy-like quality to it while being very light and airy. And the rose in here is done extremely well. It's more of like a green smelling rose. But yeah, this fragrance is unisex, pushing right down the middle. However, I feel like this is more so along the lines of a masculine smelling rose. So guys, don't be afraid of rose fragrances. This is a great one and definitely one to check out. If you're a bit unsure and kind of like, yeah, I'm kind of intrigued, but are rose fragrances too feminine for me? No, they're not. Like, don't miss out. Like, this is such a lovely fragrance, and I'm so happy that I have this one in my collection. It's definitely at the top in terms of my ranking of rose fragrances. It's right up there at the top, definitely a top 5 rose fragrance for me. But yeah, this is a beautiful one and definitely one to check out and one to wear if you're planning to visit Japan. So if you can, get yourself a sample of Lyric Man by Amouage. All right, guys, so that's all I have for you for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy the content, and let me know down in the comment section, have you ever been to Japan? Are you planning to visit Japan? What fragrances would you bring if you were planning to visit? Well, I hope you guys are staying healthy and well, and I'll see you in the next video.